And I'm really excited. I have a list of questions for you. We may not get to all of them,
Okay,
but if we do, then all right.
awesome.
I usually have this kind of go just right at an hour. I've had a few people that we ran a little bit over if we were having a good time or whatever. Unless you have an appointment or something to go to, we run over. I'm okay with that tonight. But we'll play it by ear and see how we go. But before I turn the
Yeah,
floor over to you, tell us a little bit about whatever you want to say about you personally, about your writing, about your books.
yeah. So I am excited for the fact that I'm getting ready to release book three, and I will have limited number of copies at HIA.
Okay.
Amazon, in their infinite wisdom, lost one of the shipments, and
Well, we
they
love
sent me a
Amazon.
notice that they were refunding me today. So, but the
Oh,
problem
wow.
is, by the time they notified me that they were having troubles finding it, it was too late to place an order to get them here in time for
Yeah,
next week. So,
yeah. And
um,
those orders, anyway, they're so inconsistent. I've had orders that I
right.
got in a week or two, and then others that took a month or two. There's no
Yep,
consistency there.
exactly. Yeah, no, I know it's crazy. It is
We were
very, very
talking the
crazy.
other week with another author that had the same problem I have, and I know you have too. I ordered 10 books to kind of fill the gap, and or no, 12 books. Eight came from one place, two came from one place, one came from one place, and I'm like,
Yeah,
it would be so much easier if you just order 12 while you're on there. Have them print 12 out or whatever it is. So it's crazy.
right. Yeah, I actually had, what was it? I had one order. What did I order? I ordered 15 of them, and 8 of them came singly packed.
Oh
Oh
my,
yeah, so I had a stack of 8 separate packs for one book each that
that
I had
is
to really
crazy.
pull out. Yeah,
That might be
it's
the
crazy.
craziest shipment I've heard of. Eight in separate packs. So, do you have
Yep.
pictures of your book, or do you have the book themselves so you can show it?
Yeah, yeah. Actually,
Zip
I
through the
have.
three books and
Yeah, I
tell us
have all.
about them.
Yeah, yeah. I have all 3 books right here. So we can start with book 1. So this is Zeta 5, Path of the One.
And that's the name of the
It's a bit
series,
of a
right? Zeta
chunker.
5. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That sure is a
Zeta 5
chunker.
is a series. Yeah, it's 640 pages.
Whoa.
Um, yeah, and when I started writing the book, it was something that was on my bucket list to something that I wanted to check off. I wanted to write a book, so it was something on the list, and um, I tried to keep it real quiet because I didn't want anybody to know because I didn't want to be one of those authors that a couple of years later you're still writing and it's like, oh, how's your book going? How's your book going? And it's like, it's going.
Yeah.
So I was real quiet about it first, but my wife discovered what I was doing, so that kind of let the cat out of the bag. But what was a surprise to me
You
is
didn't
I
even
was
tell
able
your
to write it
wife?
in. No, no, I didn't even. And she was, yeah, she was
Oh,
not happy.
wow. I bet. That's your best friend. Wow. That's crazy. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was
But
just shocked.
yeah, no worries at all. Yeah, she was not pleased. Um, but what I was surprised is I actually wrote the book in 6 months.
Whoa. You wrote a 600 and something page book in 6 months.
Yeah,
Holy
actually,
cow.
it probably would have been more because it was when I finished it was 165,000 words. When we got through editing and the rest of it, we got it down to I think it was 149. Is what it
Wow.
ended up being the actual word count when we were done.
Wow.
So
I'm surprised, I guess, then that it's that many words because mine are roughly 115,000 words and they're about 400 and something pages. So I wouldn't have thought that the difference between 150, I don't do math in my head, from 115 to 140 something would be 20 something more pages. That's a lot.
right, yeah, yeah. Well, so the other books aren't quite as big. So book this is book 2,
Okay.
Zeta 5, the Window Splinters. And like I said, when I wrote the first book, it was supposed to be one and done, but probably about 3 months after I'd written the book, it's like, no, I've got more story to tell here.
Okay.
Um, so I wrote the next 3 books probably in about 6 months apiece for each one of those as
Okay.
well.
Are they
But
as
they're
big
not
as the
as
first
big.
one? Okay.
No, they're not as big. So So this one's about 360 pages, and this one, book 3, is about 380 pages, I think.
Wow. Did you ever think about splitting the first book into 2 books?
So, so the group that helped me publish the first book, Paper Raven Books, so they help indie authors publish their books. And when I talked to the publisher about it, she said, "Well, no, for science fiction / fantasy, they're more in tune to the larger books, and you really shouldn't need to split it," because that was the first thing that I asked, is maybe I should split the book in 2.
Right.
She said, no. She said, based on everything that I know about those readers and the rest of it, they'll be happy with a larger book.
Yeah. And that's true of historical fiction too. My historical fiction is my biggest book because there's just certain genres they don't mind them bigger, or maybe they like them bigger. I don't know, but
Right. Yeah.
Good.
Exactly.
Okay. And then the third book is coming out when?
Yeah. So this is book 3. So
That's
this
beautiful.
is
They're
Zeta
all
5,
beautiful.
A Twist of Fate. And this one actually will be released August 26th. So
Okay.
probably
I was thinking it was next week, so it's a week after that. No,
Yeah.
what is today? I don't know what
but
it is.
today is
1, 2. There's 2.5 weeks
7.
from now.
Today's the 7th. Yep.
Okay, 2.5 weeks from now. So you said you're going to have some limited amount of copies though for the convention next week. So you're going to actually have them early prior to launch day.
Yes.
That's cool. That's cool. I bet you'll sell out because everyone will know that and they're going to want the first copies. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I hope so.
Oh, we've got a scammer person in here. I don't really know. I don't have a moderator. I've never had a problem with it, so I don't really know how to. Let me see if I can. Oh, yeah, I can block them. That was easy. I've never done that before. Learned something new. Get out of here. We got important things to talk about. Okay, so I know I have a lot of questions, and honestly, I always prepare them a week ahead because I'm always petrified something's going to happen the week of, and I won't have you. So I've kind of forgotten some of them. I might have them in there again. But tell us about your writing journey. Do you write full time?
I don't.
Okay.
I would like to, but I have a lot of other things going on. And the other thing too is the surprise to me is after the first book and being an indie author was the fact that now I have to market my own books.
Yeah.
And it's like when I was getting ready to publish the first book, and the group that was helping me, they start talking about what you're going to have to do to start marketing, and the rest of it is like, okay.
That is the number one hardest thing about being a writer is being a marketer.
Exactly. So at that point, then I put an author page together for Facebook. I did the same thing for Instagram, and it took me a while to actually jump onto TikTok because for me, with the China threat and all the rest of it's like, and then seeing all the posts from all these young kids and the rest of it's like,
there's a lot of us old people on here too. Though.
For me, yeah. But then I had a couple of author friends. Yeah, I had a couple of author friends that come to me and they say, no, it's really not what you think it is. You really need to jump into it. So I jumped into it, and it's actually the primary source. That's where I do probably 80% of my posts.
Yeah. I actually wasted about 6 months because I got on TikTok for the sole purpose of promoting my books. And then I was so intimidated by, professional people on here like Amy and Charmin and you and the things that y'all put out there. I'm like, oh, I can't compete with that. And so I just watched for 6 months. And then it was actually when the China shutdown happened, we were out of commission for 12 hours or whatever it was. And I thought, man, I missed my opportunity. I was so mad at myself. And then the next day it was up and I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. I don't care what people think of me. I'll get on there with my makeup. I'm not going to worry about whatever. And so that's when I started, which has been, only a year and 3 or 4 months ago. So, yeah, we're both a little bit newbies on here, but, you're talking about younger people. There are a lot of younger people on here, but there's a lot of us old people on here too. So we're
Right, there
a big
is. There
company.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was really surprised at that. Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
yeah. All right. Is there anything else that you want to add before I jump into the questions?
No, no. Let's jump in and see
Okay.
where they go.
All right. Buckle up, Buttercup. We're gonna go. I like to ask
Okay.
a few deep questions. Now, I will preface this
Yeah.
by saying that if there's a question, because sometimes, as writers, we put a lot of our own personality or our lives or whatever into the books, and sometimes when you're asked a specific question, it might pertain to something personal. If you don't want to answer that, just feel free to say pass or whatever. I've never had anybody do that, but that's fine. If you do, that's fine. You've said that Forbidden Planet, Jason and the Argonauts, and especially Dune sparked your love of science fiction and fantasy. What traces of those early influences can readers find in the Zeta 5 series?
Yeah. So when I had read Dune in high school, I thought it would be awesome to try and write something similar to that. I really enjoyed the book. Unfortunately, I only read the first one, so I didn't go through the series. I'm hoping to eventually go through the series, and everybody's telling me, yeah, just go to book three, and then it kind of gets bizarre from there. So
Oh, wow.
if you get through three, then you're probably doing good. So so when they had after COVID, when they re-released the movie Dune, and I watched it a couple of times. That's when things started percolating in my head, and I came up with a list of characters and started writing. So
Really?
in my book, yeah, trying to emulate the Dune type presence. So Zeta 5 is actually a large mining planet, and in this book, instead of harvesting spice like they do in the dunes within the book Dune, in my book they mine Xando crystals, and the Xando crystals are refined, and that's what they use for interstellar flight.
Oh, okay.
So Dune is or Zeta 5 is a large mining planet within the book, but what I tried to do is create its own separate nuance for it. So Zeta 5 is surrounded by asteroids, and there's no actual physical way into Zeta 5, but it's it's got three moons that orbit it, and once every 3 months the moons go into alignment, and they pull on the asteroid field and create an opening within the asteroid field, and you can fly into Zeta 5. You can do whatever you have to do.
Wow.
You've got a day and a half to do whatever you're going to do, or you're there for 3 months.
Oh, wow. Did you come up with that
So
concept on your own? That's brilliant.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Wow.
And so that's what the premise of Zeta 5 is.
I love that sense of urgency. It immediately makes you like, oh
Right.
gosh, get in there, get out. I love that. That's
Right.
brilliant. I love that. Very good. After a 41-year career as a communications executive, what finally persuaded you that it was time to publish your fiction?
So actually, my wife and I had been plotting our retirement exit strategy. We bought the house here in North Carolina in March of 2020, and we're planning to retire the following year. AT&T in their infinite wisdom decided, because of COVID, that I was going to retire early. So they pushed me out July of 2020.
Wow.
But when we bought the house here in North Carolina, the plan was to remodel it and then move in. So that's why we weren't going to retire until the following year. And the day that we closed on the house, I ripped out all the flooring.
Oh my Lord. So you know how to do all that stuff?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Do you have a background in construction, or are you just watching YouTube channels?
Actually, growing up, so my next door neighbor was used to sell carpet and tile, and I had friends that were carpenters and the rest of it. So I worked with them. I've been working or had a job since I was 12 years old. I started working at a grocery store when I was 12.
Our generation did that, didn't we? I was
Yeah,
13 when I did my
exactly.
first
Yeah,
job. Yeah,
exactly.
I can't do that
So
now.
I had all these, so I had all these friends, and I learned all this stuff from them. I learned a bunch of stuff, landscaping and all the rest of it.
Cool.
And what I didn't know how to do, I could sit down and read and pretty much figure it out because I'm really good with my hands.
That's
So
cool.
we ended up living through the remodel. Like I said, we got laid out. I got laid off in July. We moved into the house in September of 2020, and then I think it took me, yeah, it took me about a year and a half to finally finish the remodel. But like I said, after I finished the remodel, it's like, okay, what's next for me? And that's okay. That's one of the things on my list is to write a book. And like I said, Dune had just been released, so that started percolating things in my head. So that's how I
Awesome.
got to that point.
Timing just all worked out for you. That's perfect. And timing is everything. It really is.
It is absolutely it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You completed Path of the One in approximately 6 months. Was the story already fully formed in your imagination, or did you discover much of it while you were drafting it?
No, much of it while I was drafting it. I did a preliminary arc, so I knew how I wanted it to begin. I knew what needed to happen in the middle, and I had a pretty good idea how I wanted it to end. But what was surprising to me was how I sat down and started writing, how the characters almost had a mind of their own and how they wanted to do things.
Yes.
And when you tell people that don't write that the characters are actually talking in your head and they're telling you things,
Yeah.
that
I think you're
it's
crazy.
hard for them to grasp that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was really surprising to me that I had to do this, and it's like, okay, we're getting to this point. We're almost to the middle of the book. I need this to happen, so I need to try and herd you back this way. So that's
Yeah.
kind of
So do
how
you
it worked.
plot yours out then? It sounds like you do at least a little bit.
Yeah, I do a basic plot and then try to come up with some type of arc, and then I'll put a bunch of notes together as I'm thinking through stuff of what I want to happen in there and how I want it to happen. So
Yeah.
that way I'm not completely flying blind totally.
Right. I've tried it both ways, and I honestly, I would have never when I first started, because all my books are based on dreams I had. So I really just kind of described my
Right.
dream and then filled in the blanks. But now that I've written 12 books, and now I'm run out of dreams and having to come up with actual ideas, it has helped me to be able to plot out. And I do a loose plot like you're talking about too. So, I don't do, I'm not one of those people that has every chapter lined out what's going to be in there. I know roughly how many words I
Yeah,
want
no,
each
me either.
chapter to be. And so I keep an eye on that. And I know, well, do I have
Right.
time to introduce this or should I wait till the next chapter or stuff like that? But so, what inspired the planet Zeta 5, and why did you choose to name the entire series after that particular world?
Well, like I said, it was based on Dune, and I wanted to come up with something similar to that. But I also wanted it to be something kind of memorable. Um, and so that's why I came up with that premise. And and I also figured that I would continue on the series that way because at some point, Zeta 5 plays into each one of the books. So something is going on back at that planet, one way or another. It may not be the focal point every time, but it's something that draws them into it. And so it's always in there with every book that I've written so far.
So, where did you find the name Zeta? So just threw some letters of the alphabet on the table and they landed that way. It's different.
Um, yeah, I don't remember how I exactly came up with it, but I was kind of playing with stuff, and I was kind of writing names down and the rest of it. And then when I came up, when Zeta came up, and I looked at it, it's like, yeah, I think that'll work. And Zeta 5, there's a reason for 5, and it kind of highlights that in probably about halfway through the first book.
Okay. I'm glad you added that because when you said it had 3 moons, in my mind, I was thinking, well, why not Zeta 3 then? Because it had 3 moons. But so that the number has nothing to do with the moons or anything like that, obviously. So,
Well, it kind of does, but you'll have to find out later why.
okay, no spoiler alerts tonight. This series combines science fiction and fantasy, including advanced technology, unusual abilities, prophecy, and multiple worlds. How do you decide where science ends and magic begins?
For me, it wasn't really that hard because one of the things in there, and I mean that brings the fantasy element into it, is I use swords in there, but if you look and see, the swords glow red,
Uh-huh.
and there's a reason that the swords glow red, and I couldn't come up. I didn't want to use lightsabers. I wanted to use swords, so I had to come up with the reason why the swords glow red.
Okay.
So and the way that I came up with it makes it sound reasonable enough that you could accept the fact of, okay, this is why they do it.
Okay. So I meant to ask you earlier when you showed your covers, and then we got to talking, I forgot, but your covers are gorgeous. Do you design those yourself?
So actually the first one, like I said, Paper Ribbon Books, they helped me, and what we did is we did a cover contest with a group called 99 Designs, and this was one of the last covers that came in. I had to have, like I said, I had to have them change the swords, have them be red. The woman originally had brunette hair, and in the book I talk about the girls being blonde, so I told them that they had to be blonde. But like I said, when I saw that cover, I knew that was the one.
Yeah.
But then when I went to work on book 2, I found an amazing editor who was considerably cheaper, and he had a cover artist. And I said, okay, well, I'll try her, but she has to come close. She has to be able to come close to what I'm doing.
Right.
So I don't know if you can see the difference, but if you look at the lettering here, it's a little thicker than it is on this one.
Yeah. You sound like me though, because honestly, I don't think the average reader would ever notice that. But you sound like a perfectionist,
Right,
like I am
right.
too. I'm like, oh wait, this isn't
Right.
matching.
Yep.
But these are our babies
But
that we have
yeah,
to protect them.
That's it exactly. And she wasn't able to come up with the match completely, so I said, okay, if we can adjust the cover in the first book and go that way forward with all the rest of the books, then I'm happy with that. And she's been able to do that so far.
Oh, nice. That's actually difficult because I'm not more happy with the person that did my covers for The Last Safe House. And I tried after book 2, I just got fed up. And I tried for a month or more, just trying different designers, telling them, the font has to match, the title has to match, these things have to match. The rest of it we can alter a little bit, but I could not find anybody, so I ended up stuck with the same person. I literally was thrilled the day she finished book 5, because that's the last one in my series that has to be the same. I'm doing a prequel, but it can be a little bit different. But I was so thrilled because I thought, good, I am never using her again. She's sweet as she could be. She tried really hard, but she just couldn't do it, And there's a knack to that. So we have to protect our babies, like I was saying.
Absolutely, we do.
Yeah. Connor, I'm going to butcher this. I'm not good with his name. Balthazar?
Balcazar, yeah.
Balcazar. Okay, Connor Balcazar starts Path of the One, living in the shadow of his charismatic older brother Adam. I can pronounce that one.
Yep.
Why was sibling comparison the right emotional starting point for Connor?
Because I wanted to show that Connor was young, and in the beginning, I described the fact that he's just starting out here. His brother's been out there doing it for a while. Connor wants to be the warrior like his brother is, so that's where the emulation goes. And it's like, okay, my brother is a badass. I want to be the same kind of badass. So how do I get to that point? So in the first book, I show how Connor grows through the book and how he matures into the warrior he is now.
Okay. So both of them end up becoming the badass warrior. Spoiler alert.
Uh,
You kind of
well,
just said.
Adam already is. Adam already is, but Connor, you find Connor grows into it,
He grows. Okay.
and yeah, and the, Connor has to go to Zeta 5. He and one of his mentors, Eric, go to Zeta 5 because they have to figure out what's going on with the Emperor's younger brother, Lorenzo. So they end up going to Zeta 5, and that's where the prophecy comes in. And that's where you kind of see some of Connor's growth.
Okay. I have to ask, do you have a brother? Is that what brought on this sibling rivalry?
I do, but my he's a younger brother, not an older brother.
Okay. So that makes him emulating you then. So he wants to be a badass writer.
No, he doesn't want to be a writer. He's very happy and proud that his brother's a writer, but he said he will never be a writer.
Connor possesses the ability to see the future. What interested you about giving a character knowledge of possible events without necessarily giving him the power to prevent them?
I thought it would be an interesting twist to see where he could get glimpses of it that kind of lead him down the path of where he needs to go. And the fact that I'm not giving the full details here, so it kind of leads the reader along as well, saying, okay, this is where we're going, and he needs to know it, and we'll tell you a little more as we continue down this path together. And that's kind of why I did it.
I would think it would be a little bit tricky to have a character that can foretell the future and not do spoiler alerts. You know what I mean? Because that character knows.
Right.
So
Right.
how did you manifest that so that the character knows and the reader knows that the character knows, but without letting the reader know?
Well, so what I would say is Connor would get glimpses of it, and then he would make the comment, this is something I think we're going to need as we go forward. Sorry, my cat Lucas here is.
I kicked my cat out before
digging.
these. I have to because it's not. We're smack in the middle of it. I have to stop and let her out. So.
Yeah, so what I tried to do is I tried to say, okay, here's glimpses of it, and Connor would comment that he's getting these glimpses, and these are something that I feel are going to need, that we're going to need as we go forward, without saying why we need them. So it's kind of like Connor's trying to figure it out as the reader's trying to figure it out. Is kind of how I did it.
Okay, that's interesting. We're about halfway through. I just want to interject for people that have just joined us. I'm author Casey Mitchell. Every Friday night at 7, I do the Indie Author Access to promote other authors. And tonight, our feature author is R.D. Moreno, who writes in science fiction, and fantasy. So we're picking his brain to find out how he does that. If you have a question, please put it in the comments. I'm trying to watch the comments and listen to him too. And I used to could multitask like that. I'm getting worse at it. So help me look out for the questions. And if I miss your question, just ask again. And if I'm looking down or something and missed it, just ask again. We will get to you, I promise. The Chosen One stories can easily make destiny more important than personal choice. How do you preserve Connor's agency while placing him at the center of an ancient prophecy?
So the prophecy unfolds on Zeta 5, and it's stuff that happens along the way that flags why everybody on Zeta 5 believes that he's the chosen one. And they start referring to him as the one. And he reluctantly, I'm not going to say that he accepts that he's the one. He reluctantly agrees that maybe he could be the one without trying to say, yes, it's me. He's hearing these stories and he's having people tell him, and then he's starting to get this notoriety on the planet, and he's having a hard time dealing with that notoriety. So that's kind of how he does and struggles with it because, like I said, he's still a young kid trying to figure it out himself,
Yeah.
and so all of this attention that's being played on him is completely new.
So I mean, I'm recognizing a lot of arcs in there, the reluctant hero and things. And I know George Lucas that wrote the Star Wars thing. He got into all the
Yeah.
arcs, and all. That's what gave him the idea of Star Wars. Are you into that as well? Into the arcs and reading about that or watching that? Or I think we all
Um,
universally have bits and pieces of it just from reading stories and watching movies and stuff. But it sounds like you're more into it
yeah, I
than a
have
novice writer.
yeah, bits and pieces of it, but it was more of just trying. How is this story really going to be relatable? How are people gonna perceive it? And does this make sense as I move things forward? Because that's the other thing too. Is I came from the IT world, so I have a really analytical mind. So if
Mm,
things aren't making sense to me, then it's like if it doesn't make sense to me, how is it going to make sense to my readers? So that's kind of
yeah,
how I approach different pieces of it.
yeah. I appreciate that because I'm not an IT person by any stretch of the imagination, but I do have a very analytical mind, and I can't stand it when I'm reading a book and something doesn't add up. You know, it doesn't make sense. It becomes
Right. Yeah.
unbelievable in my mind, and it distracts me from reading. And I have
Yep.
DNF books because if they do it consistently, I'm just like, no, I can't do this anymore. It's got to make sense. So I like that.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say something else.
No. No. No.
Okay.
No. No.
Okay. Adam and Connor are close despite Connor's feelings of being overshadowed. What did you want their relationship to contribute to the larger story?
I wanted them to see that even though they're brothers and they're kind of competing in a way, there's still a close relationship between the two of them. It's not an adversarial one. It's more of we're going to support each other and we're going to keep going.
I like that. Are they the only two siblings?
Um, so there's Christina and Emily that are daughters of the emperor, but Emily was adopted,
Oh,
and she was adopted when Christina was very young, because one of the things that happens is Christina's mother dies right after childbirth.
wow.
Excuse me. So they come up. They actually find Emily on another planet that they're trying to conquer that looks very similar to Christina, and that's very important in the story that the two of them look very similar, almost like twins, and that's what I comment in the book that the two of them look almost like twins.
Oh, wow. I feel like there's a story there, but I'm not going to ask for spoiler alerts. I can't
There is
stand that when people do that.
there is a story there, but it would be a spoiler.
Yeah, we won't go there then. I don't want to spoil it. Emperor Esteban and his bitter
Yep.
brother Lorenzo represent two very different approaches to power. What questions about leadership and entitlement were you exploring through their conflict?
So, in most of these books and stories and the rest of it, the emperor is the evil guy that's trying to overthrow, take over the empire, and all the
Yeah,
rest of it. It's
yeah.
like, no, I think I want to go a different route with this.
I like
So my
that.
route was okay. The emperor in this universe, the emperor is going to be more malevolent, if I can speak, and trying to take on new worlds as they mature, and not just kind of go in and overrun them and rule as the evil emperor. Um, so that's where it comes in the fact that he has this younger brother Lorenzo, who really believes that he should be the emperor and the one to rule. So that's why I came up with that type of scenario.
Okay. I like the twist of making it not what people are expecting with the emperor. You're right. The emperor is always the bad guy. Seems like most of the time. So I like that twist that you flipped it on its butt to change it around a little bit. Lorenzo is both a gifted scientist and an antagonist, How do you keep his scientific ambition from becoming a simple technology is evil message?
Um, because later on in the book, there's other people that are able to figure out his technology and try and battle him using that same technology. So that's how I did that.
Well, now that I know that you have a background in IT, I'm even more curious about that because there are people who really just feel like, AI is horrible, tech is horrible, computers are horrible. So, where were you going with that when you were writing that? Were you trying to prove a point or was it just part of the story?
No, I wasn't really trying to prove a point. I was just trying to say that just because Lorenzo has come up with this technology, there's got to be a way to defeat it, and we've got to try and figure out what that is. So that is where I came up with the scenario on having somebody that was able to understand his technology and try and find workarounds for it.
So I obviously haven't read the book, and I read very slowly, so I rarely have a chance to read the book before the interviews. But
No worries.
for the technology that you had, did you have to create like futuristic technology to fit into the book?
Uh, yeah. So um, the way I present the book is Dune meets Game of Thrones meets Stargate. So we've got the Dune aspect. The Game of Thrones aspect is trying to overthrow the throne. And then the Stargate aspect is in chapter 3, there's a lab explosion that exposes some of the stuff that Lorenzo's been doing. And that's how his brother Esteban figures out that Lorenzo may be doing stuff that he's not telling his
Oh,
brother about.
so yeah, I'm
Um,
responsible.
Yeah, so in that, when um, Esteban and Lorenzo get into a fight over it, and he's completely pissed off at his brother at this point. A couple of people have died. Lorenzo storms off, and then Esteban and one of his uh, guards, well, not really bodyguard, kind of bodyguard supporter, John, go with him back to where the lab explosion is, and they see it phasing in and out. And with that phasing, it actually shows another world in there.
Oh my.
And so that brings in the Stargate element of it, being able to go to different worlds just by going through this gate.
That is amazing. I have to ask because I could never write science fiction. I don't read science fiction because to me it's hard to follow. I have read some and I've enjoyed some, but on a
Yeah.
regular basis, I mean, they usually have a lot more characters than I'm used to, and the world building is just ginormous, and my brain is not that advanced. So, how do you come up with all these ideas? I mean, these are all really unique ideas.
Well, when I came up with Zeta 5, and then I had originally put the list of characters together and came up with the planet, what the planet was going to be like. It's like, okay, I've got these nuances in there. There's got to be another way to get to that planet besides every 3 months. There's got to be something to do that allows me to do that. How can I do that? So
So you
that's
started
like I said when they
inventing stuff for the plot.
yeah
Wow,
yeah
maybe you should have been an inventor. I mean, in real life.
oh I have ideas for that too, but I just have no time for any of that stuff.
Well, no, not
But
now because
but
you're a writer.
no
That's all you have time for is writing when you're a writer, writing and marketing.
yeah.
That's
But like I
very
said,
cool,
in the
though.
lab explosion, when they see that different world, that's when they determine that that different world is Zeta 5. So, and that's part of the reason that causes Connor and Eric to go to Zeta 5 to figure out, okay, why did we see this and what's going on there?
Wow, that's amazing. I know Amy's with us tonight, Amy Lucille, and she writes children's book, but it's fantasy, and I'm a art reader for her, so it literally amazes me. I know we all have different talents or whatever, but you people who have this fantastical imagination, it blows my mind. Like I forget now because I have a terrible memory, but the kids are sitting at the table, and then the table comes to life. I'm like, I told Amy, who would think of that? I mean, and I'm same thing
Right.
with you. I
Yeah.
mean, who would think of that? What in the world? Did you have a bad dream? You had Mexican food before you went to sleep. It's blows my imagination of what y'all are able to think up. I really admire that.
Well, and yeah, thank you. And the other thing too is you're talking about all these different world buildings and the rest of it. I do that, and I describe the world as they're going to it, but I try not to make it something that's expanse where you're going to need a map and all the rest of it.
Right.
I tried to be a little more straightforward of it, so that way you could follow along without having to go back. Well, you said this, but this, because that's one of the things. So Mama D has read. She's actually read all three books. She just posted today that she finished the arc for book 3. But she made the same comment that she didn't want to jump into fantasy and the rest of it because of all the world building and the rest of it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
she admitted that I don't do it to that extent. So it's not something that really that you're going crazy over trying to figure out.
Well, that knowing that makes me want to read the book because the book sounds. I mean, I love the premise of science fiction. I just can't usually follow it. But knowing that, I'm like, okay, I'm downloading these books. This sounds amazing. Because it's just, for those of us who weren't raised on science fiction, we don't understand the whole world building thing.
Right.
It can be overwhelming. And especially when you introduce 30 characters in chapter 1, I'm like, wait a minute, now who's who? I just can't, I don't know if I'm old or I was always slow, but I can't follow that many people and that many things at one time. And I know, I mean, there are some people who have so many odd words and odd names that is another additional layer of things.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too is I didn't want to. I mean, you've got Esteban and you've got Lorenzo but
we hear those names, we know those names.
Yeah, I tried to not make because when I read fantasy, it's the same thing. It's like, how the hell do I pronounce this name? It's like, and they've got 10 syllables in the name, and it's like, I definitely did not want to do that.
And then when you have 30 characters who all have this crazy off the wall name, then you're like, wait a minute, both of them started with a W, and which one was that now? And it's a lot. And then if you have to have definitions at the beginning and the end of it, because that language is so different. I was interviewing a science fiction writer several weeks ago, very highly intelligent woman. She kind of blew my mind just talking to her, but she literally pretty much created a whole language, an entire language for the world of her book. And she's like, well, I've got definition in the front. I'm like, okay, I love you to death and you are amazingly wonderful and intelligent, but I'm not going to be able to read that book because it's too much. She has a strong following, and there are apparently a lot of people out there that can and love it. But your book sounds like something I would love.
Yeah, so I can't do that either. Yeah.
Well, thank you. That makes me feel better about not being able to do it myself. You have identified Craven as the villain who would be the hardest to defeat. What makes him especially dangerous? His strength, his intelligence, his abilities, or his understanding of other people?
Actually, a little bit of all of it, because one of the things that you find out about Craven is, so you've got John and Eric are kind of the mentors for Adam and Connor, and they were kind of bodyguards growing up with Connor and Adam's father, William, and they were supporting Esteban as they were conquering other worlds and stuff. And Craven actually was working with, so William's wife was also, her father was into it. And I just have one chapter in there where I kind of talk about that and how Craven is involved with all of that. So Craven is kind of a menacing warrior, and I describe the fact that he is a menacing warrior almost to the tune of what John and Eric are, who taught Adam and Connor. So you get an understanding of how fierce this guy really is.
I do appreciate the fact that you use normal names, because that just in itself makes me want to read the book. John and Adam and Connor and Craven, and I can go there. Christina and Emily, two more good names,
Yeah.
played important roles in opposing Lorenzo's technology. How did you approach giving them their own ambitions and influence within such a large ensemble?
So after after Adam, so I hint early on that um, Christina is crazy about Adam,
So is this a little
and
romance
Adam
involved?
kind of yeah, Adam kind of feels the same way. So there's kind of a discussion early on in the book about the two of them,
Okay.
and then Emily kind of reveals that she has feelings towards Connor, but Connor has no idea. Um, and then after Connor comes back from Zeta 5, then it exposes more of the romantic elements between Adam and Christina and Connor and Emily. So at this point, they're heavy into trying to figure out what Lorenzo is up to. And so Christina and Emily, when I talk about in there, they graduate from a university and they talk about the fact that they're unaware of what's going on with Lorenzo at the time. And in the graduation, they discuss the fact that they'd like to work in Lorenzo's labs with him and discover and work on all this new technology. So I highlight the fact that they have the ability to understand this technology. So that's how they step into it.
Okay. I like that. I like that. Your world includes numerous planets, cultures, creatures, technologies, and abilities. Do you maintain a formal series Bible, or is the Zeta 5 universe stored somewhere inside your head, possibly in a dangerously crowded neighborhood?
Yeah. So, like I said, when I was putting the list of characters together, I also put a list of the characterization for Zeta 5. So it's actually written down what the characteristics of the planet are, but it's evolved a little bit since then.
Okay.
Because the other thing that I never highlighted is the fact that you can't communicate outside Zeta 5. Even when the moons aren't aligned and the asteroid field is open and you can fly in, you still can't communicate outside. You can't get any communication outside Zeta 5. So any information that comes from Zeta 5 has to come on one of the transport ships that picks up all the Xando crystals for mining. So you have to send a message out on the ship that way, or else nobody has any idea what's going on Zeta 5.
Wow. Wow. So it has elements of almost an older world. I mean, the technology and all is
Yeah, it's
new, but
completely
the
isolated.
communication, yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I like that element that you threw in there because that complicates things,
Yeah,
makes
it
it,
does.
again, that urgency is there. So, I had a question I was going to ask you, and my mind went blank. Maybe it'll come back to me. This is what happens when you get old. The window
Yes.
splinters send Connor through a window into a familiar world where almost nothing is as he remembers it. What attracted you to the idea of making familiarity? I know I can't talk. Itself unsettling.
So the fact is, what I did is I hinted the fact that he actually ends up in a different dimension, and things are completely twisted in this dimension. So when he's on Zeta 5, stuff that was on Zeta 5 that he's familiar with and the rest of it isn't there. So it's like, what happened? Where am I? What's going on here? None of this is making any sense.
Wow. Oh, I remember what I was going to ask you because you're friends with Charmin McGraw? I'm sure everybody is. But she writes these writers' workbooks that are amazing. They're extremely detailed, and she's got one specifically for science fiction fantasy, and it helps you keep up with everything: the world building, the characters, the pronunciation of the names, which you don't have so much, for yours. But I don't know if you're familiar with that, but if not, you need to check them out. It's called
Okay.
Charmin. If you're in here, let me know. or Amy would know too. Something right. What is the name of the book? Anyway, but she has a different ones for different genres. I think she's got like 5 or 6 of them out right now. But they're amazing. You need to check them out. They're great writer workbooks to
Okay.
just to help you get your story straight. That's the name of it. That's what I was about to say, to help you get your story straight.
Oh, I
Right?
think
That's the
yeah,
title.
I think I've seen her advertise that.
Yes, you really need to check them out. It will behoove you to do so because she sent me one. I was a little bit overwhelmed because they were so organized and so well put together, and she thought of everything you need to think about, chapter summaries, and I mean everything. The world continuity between books. Trying to keep everything aligned.
Right.
They're really really amazing. Just a little plug in for her to say that. If you haven't checked them out, check them out. Um, I think we already did that one. I just forgot to mark it off. Yes. In book 2, Connor encounters friends and family he believed that he had lost. Little spoiler alert. How do you explore the emotional tension between wanting those relationships back and recognizing that they may not be the people or the reality that he once knew?
So so there's something that happens in there. Without trying to give a spoiler away to the first book.
And if you need to pass, that's fine because I don't want you to give anything away.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying not to pass, but still give you. So like I said, there's some without spoiling it. There's some things that happen in book 1, and it changes the dynamics of the 4: Christina, Emily, Connor, and Adam. And in book 2, he explores those a little further, and he and Emily sit down and talk, and it helps him realize where he's at and where his relationships belong when he has that conversation with them. And that's what I try to highlight when I did that.
Well, it sounds like this is a very character-driven plot, and I like that. That's my favorite kind of plot, is a character-driven plot. But it also sounds like you have a lot of human emotions and realistic kind of human relationships, romance, and things that we can completely relate to within the book. Would you say that it's a character-driven plot?
Yeah, it is. It is. I tried to make it. Like I said, I tried to make the characters as relatable as possible. So it is kind of character driven from the fact that you get to understand their feelings. You get to understand the feelings in the relationship between them.
They were watching you.
I know, and I responded. I said, "Awesome." Yeah. My grandkids are here. They were watching.
Oh, how sweet! That is sweet.
Yeah.
Let's see. I know we're running out of time, and I didn't want to keep you too long.
Not with the cat. The cat's gone.
No, it's okay.
Okay. When Connor is separated from where he believes he belongs, how does that change his understanding of home, loyalty, and identity?
Actually, it helps him understand. It helps him understand more of what his relationship should be back home where he's at.
Okay.
Like you said, he just when he's there, but he also has a feeling that he needs to help his newfound family. So there's some of that as well, because there's some things that are going on in that world as well that he feels he can help them with. So he feels an urgency to try and help them at the same time while he's trying to figure out how he's going to get home.
Okay. Well, let's jump to book 3 real quick. It is entitled A Twist of Fate. Without revealing the twist, what does fate mean at this point in Connor's journey? A fixed destination? You tell us. I'm gonna cut this. It's a 2-part question. I'm gonna cut the second part off because we're running out of time.
No, repeat that. I'm sorry.
Okay. The third book is titled A Twist of Fate. Without revealing the twist, what does fate mean at this point in Connor's journey?
Actually, so let me step back for a minute. When I was plotting out the rest of the books, what I did is I said, okay, book 2 is going to be about Connor, Book 3 is going to be about Christina, and then book 4 is going to be about Christina and Connor. So actually, and if you look at the third book, you see that it's two women. So you got Christina and Emily here in there.
Okay.
And if you notice, the two of
Do it
them
again.
are kind of at odds with each other.
Yeah, a little bit.
Um,
Well, they're trying to kill each other. So.
yeah. So in the first book, she was an adopted sister, and I mean, treated like a regular sister. In book 3, there's a twist to it, and there's a lot of twists and turns in book 3, and that's why I say a twist of fate, because you find out that Emily isn't the same person that she was in book 1, and
Okay.
Chris
Do it again.
is not the same person that she was in book 1 either. So
Very
you
cool.
get some feeling of that as well. And people that were enemies before, that she thinks are enemies, may not really be the enemies she thought they were.
That
And the
sounds
people that
so
she thought
very.
that she could trust. Yeah. People that
That
she thought
sounds
she
so
could
very
trust
real
may not
life,
be
right?
people that she can trust either. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, real life is like that. Sometimes people we think are our enemies
Exactly.
turn out to be our friends, or vice versa. So I totally get that.
Yep.
How did writing A Twist of Fate differ from writing the first two novels? Now that you have had an established both, now that you have established both the universe and the reader's expectations, was that more difficult for you or easier?
No, it's actually the writing got easier because the other thing too is so I took there were some comments in some of the reviews in the first book, and I took some of those comments and twisted them around to make it a better story. And actually, so A. Page Turner was one of the first ARC readers, and she commented that she actually liked how she saw the growth within the third book, so which made me feel really good.
Yeah, that's actually, to me, that's my goal as a writer for each book to be better than the prior one, because if you're not growing, what are you
Absolutely.
doing? You should be getting better, and if
Exactly.
you're not,
Yep.
something's probably wrong. So yeah, that's a good review when they say that. You were
Yeah.
already working
Absolutely.
several books. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I would just agree. Yeah, that's
Oh,
absolutely
okay.
that's true.
You were already working several books ahead while the first novel was still finding its audience. How much for the overall series did you plan before publishing Path of the One, and what have you changed along the way?
Um, so let's see. I think I was I was done with book 1, and it was probably about halfway through, or I mean book 2, and it was probably about halfway through book 3 when book 1 came out.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
unusual.
yeah. Well, like I said, when I had written the first book, I actually tried to go the tried route, and after probably about 3 months of trying to do that, I was approached by Paper Raven Books, and it took probably 4 months, 4 months, maybe 5 months before it was actually published. Because I went through 3 rounds of editing with them. Because the other thing too is when I wrote the first book, grammar was never my thing. And book 1 was in real rough shape, and the fact that I write in third person, there was a lot of stuff that had to be changed so that it looked correct and it read correctly for third person. So I had some friends give me some tips, and then when we went through editing, they gave me a lot more tips, and I learned so much through that I ended up having to go through the second book and make all the tweaks and changes in that one, and then as I was going through book 3, doing the same thing with that one,
Yeah.
and yeah, so
Well, I love that you're honing your craft, because I don't think editing is any writer's favorite thing to do. It is right below marketing. It's favorite things to
right,
do. We
right,
hate
yeah.
marketing the most, and then the next thing after that is editing. I know I started writing about 14 years ago, and I wrote 3 books kind of back to back. But then about 4 years ago, when I started writing more seriously and more full time, I got autocrit, which is what I use for 90% of my editing, and it teaches you, because when you have to correct something 6,000 times in a manuscript, the next time you're writing, you're not going to make that same mistake. So
Right,
you
exactly.
naturally become a better writer, just from editing. And I ran all of my previous books through. I had 5 books at the time. Ran them all through there. It literally took me 6 months, because autocrit, I don't know if you're familiar with it, it is extremely tedious, and I mean, it'll make your book a better book, but it'll make you cuss like a sailor too. But
Yep.
I ran all my books back through it and republished them with a cleaner, more professional edited,
Yep.
manuscript. So I totally get what you're talking about, having to work on something you've already written, especially when you've moved on. I don't know if you're like this, but once I start the next book, I don't want to have to go back to the previous book. But I knew that I needed to, so I did. And I took 6 months off. I was writing at the same time, but the majority of my time was editing, trying to get all the past backlist caught up. I have one more question, and then I have 2 questions that I always ask at the end. But before we get to that, I'm going to ask this one question. Path of the One received recognition from the International Impact Book Awards and the Global Book Awards. Beyond awards and sales, what response would make you feel that the Zeta 5 series accomplished what you hoped that it would?
Yeah. So, as a writer,
on,
when you're writing, you think how awesome it would be. To
You're
actually
freezing
get
a little bit. Hold on one second. We probably need to wait till you catch up. You're freezing a little bit. Try again.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. When you're writing, yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can now. Yeah, you just froze for a minute there. So
we have some storms coming through. Yeah, we have some storms coming through.
Yeah,
so
we're having them here too. It sounds terrible outside. So what would make you feel?
when you're writing, when you're writing, you think how awesome it would be to get awards for your book, and but as an indie author, if you're not out there putting yourself out there for these awards, none of that stuff ever happens. And
I've never done
I was
that.
completely elated when You've never submitted for any awards?
I've never. I need to. I know. I don't have time.
You absolutely do. Yeah. Yeah, you absolutely do.
Well, maybe you and I can talk about that. Give me some information.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. But so I submitted for these, and they both came in around 24. The book was published in April of 24, and around December of 24, the week between Christmas and New Year's, I actually got them both within that same week.
Wow, nice Christmas.
And we always get hit with all of these marketers and all the rest of it, scammers and all of that. When I got the International Impact Book Award and I got the notification saying that I won, it's like, this is another scam. This isn't really happening.
Yep.
And I had to read the letter like 3 or 4 times before it finally clicked that, no, it's not a scam. You really did get the award. And,
that's cool.
And so I was a little more quick to accept when I got the other one, the second one. But yeah, and I was over the moon for those.
Yeah. So congratulations on that. Would that be what you would think of as like the epitome of your accomplishment, or is there something more that you want to?
I think the epitome of my accomplishment is I think growing my readership and the fact that more and more readers are enjoying my stuff and it's naturally evolving. I do a lot of marketing. I do a lot of book fairs and the rest of it. And I get a lot of nice comments because I'm starting to get people that have seen me at other book fairs, and it's, I read your first book, I love your first book. And maybe they'll buy the second book. I had one guy come to me and he says, I think you told me that you're going to finish the series with 6 books. He said, so I think I'm going to wait to get the other books so I can get them all at one time. So it's like,
I had a lot of people do that with my series.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me, because if they wait till they get all 6 of them, in your case, And then what if they read the first one and they don't? The first one they bought 6 books that they literally don't want. But I have a lot of people that this past book when I came
I've
out
made
with
that
book
same
4,
comment. Yeah.
and I'm about to come out with book 5. I've got people now that are like, well, I'll go ahead and buy it so I can start reading. So when book 5 comes out, I'll be ready because it's coming out next month.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm like,
Right.
I don't understand that mentality. I want to read the first one to see if I'm going to like it, and then if I like it, then I'm like, okay, then I'll read the others. But
Yep.
I get that. That was my last official question, but I always like to finish up the night with the 2 questions I ask everyone. They're generic questions I ask everyone.
Sure.
But before we do that, tell us, everyone, where they can find your books at.
Yeah, so you can find my books in
On the Zon, I'm sure.
At the Zon Jungle. The first
Are
book
they
is
in KU?
wide. There are all 3 books are in KU. Well, all 3 books will be in KU. Book 1 and 2 are in
Okay.
KU now.
Okay.
Book 3 will be there as well.
Okay.
And I still have to publish book 2 with Ingram Sparks, and then I'll do the same thing with book 3, so that way they can go wide. But I also have them at several bookstores, including bookstore in Ireland, Inkbound.
Yeah.
So my bookstores are there, or my books are there as well.
Okay. So you publish wide for the print, and then for the ebook you have on KU. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Do you want to show the covers again real quick in case someone's looking for it? They can recognize it right away from the cover.
Yeah.
Go through that. Is that
this
book
is
1?
Zeta 5.
Okay.
This is book 1, Path of the One. This is book 2. This is Zeta 5, The Window Splinters. And this is book 3 that comes out August 26th. And this is Zeta 5, A Twist of Fate.
I love that. Beautiful covers. Great job. I know you're a real popular guy on here, and I see why now. You're just so kind and so intelligent. It's a joy to talk to you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. This was a lot of fun.
I want to let you know that I have a YouTube channel, and so I always post these up on YouTube afterwards. I will send you the direct link to that. I'm sorry, what?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you the direct link.
Thank you.
And and you're welcome to splice it or whatever you want to do. Take bits and pieces of it to use for content, however you want to do that. I'll send that to you. I usually try to get it done by the next day, but sometimes either TikTok or YouTube does not cooperate. And right now we're having a storm, so it might be tomorrow or Sunday. But I will get it to you. I promise. I haven't failed to get it since I started being able to do that. So with that said, I'm going to end with the last 2 questions. They're just quickie little questions that we're almost done. Thank you for staying over for a minute. I was afraid we would stay over because I had a lot of questions for you. What is something small? What is something small that brings you disproportionate joy? And it cannot be your family. Something outside of your family that brings you disproportionate joy.
So I have a new cat, Lucas.
A new cat?
He snuck in. Yeah, a cat.
Okay.
My cat Lucas. If you look on my page, I posted him a couple of times. He snuck into my garage. Probably he's been with me almost 4 months now.
Aww.
He snuck in. We determined at the time he was probably about 6 months old. I found him sleeping on my chair because my office is here in the garage. And he was sleeping on my office chair here, and I kind of startled him because he was asleep when I walked in. His eyes got big, and he took off. And what I do is I leave the garage door open. I have 2 garage doors in the front. I've got a 4-car garage here, so I leave the front doors open about this much so I get ventilation, and I've got an exhaust fan in the back that draws all the air out. So I thought he took off. And then I found him a couple of days later, kind of roaming around in the garage.
Aww.
And he's been here ever since. So probably, so it's like, okay, I started feeding him, made sure he had water, made sure he had food, and then I took him to the vet so that he'd get his shots and figured out how old he was and all the rest of it. And he's been here ever since. And we had some opportunities with him. Yeah, oh yeah, that's it, exactly. Yeah, you don't own cats, cats own you. And I've been a dog person for almost 40 years. I never thought I would own a cat.
Really?
We had cats when I was a kid growing up, but and it's not that I don't like cats. It's just I
Yeah,
like dogs more.
you are a dog
For me,
person.
they're
Yeah.
easier to deal with. But I've had Lucas, and he's become my little buddy here.
That's
He
so
hangs out with me
sweet.
here in the garage, and
That's precious.
uh,
I like cats and
yeah, we
dogs.
do a lot of them.
But I keep cats because they're less maintenance. I'm a lazy owner. I like the less maintenance pets to take care of, like a goldfish or a cat. And the last question, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word?
Mm-hmm.
Lately, it's been awesome.
Oh, I like that. I say that all the time too. I like to ask that
Yeah.
question because, we words are our tools of our trade. And so a lot of
Yes.
people don't, they're like, what? But a lot of people do have a favorite word. So I like to ask that. So
Right.
you can't go wrong with awesome.
No. Right.
All
Well,
right. I
Klein,
will.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah.
for everyone that popped in here. I appreciate you sticking with this so we can get it up. And I'll send you the whole thing so that you can use it for
Okay.
content or whatever that you need to use it for. And I will see you next week, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah, I can't wait. This is going to be so
All right.
much fun. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's going to be fun. All right. So hang on here. I need to cut you off so you get your little 3 coins or whatever you got tonight. All right. Thank you. And thank y'all, everyone, for joining us. We appreciate you
Thank
joining us.
you.
And I'll
Yes,
see y'all
thank
next week.
everyone. Yes.
All right. Bye-bye. Oh, I meant to announce that I'm not going to be doing it next week because I'll be at the Happily Indy After, and they were going to have that dinner Friday night, and so I knew I wouldn't be able to do this, so I didn't schedule one, didn't plan one. So even though they've canceled the dinner, I'm not going to be doing this recording next Friday night. It'll be the first one I've missed in 6 months. So I will see y'all in 2 weeks, and I will see you tomorrow. I mean, not tomorrow.
Yes.
I can't think. I need to go to bed.
Next week.
Next week. All right. All right.